What an absolute gangster, bro. One of the fastest ways to double your business is what? Double the price. You don't have to do anything different and you make more money. Just kidding. Don't tell your mom I said that, bro. It's really easy. If you do this, you'll close like every single deal. Please talk to your parents before. Don't wait till the day of. Like, you need to talk to them like sooner than later, bro.
My name's Oliver. I'm 15, and then I run like an SMMA, you'd call it. Last week I did 12,000, but I'm averaging like 15 to 20,000 a month. But it's kind of growing fast. I just saw on YouTube, kind of like everybody. I saw like Iman Godzi and just all the other like YouTubers, how to get rich, and then started looking into it. And I was like, okay, let me try this out. And I took some free courses, just stuff like that, and then I just started because I feel like the biggest thing holding me back is being in school so much and like trying to navigate that with how to run my ads. Because like with ads you have to call people immediately and such. It's obviously a bit of a hindrance when you're in school. So I want to figure out how to kind of navigate around that. And then as well kind of just fix up my sales process a little bit.
Let's start at the top, bro. You got SMMA, and then what are you doing per month right now?
It's probably somewhere around like 15.
15?
Yeah.
Okay, so 15,000 a month.
Yeah.
What's your price point?
So it's two, either 4K paid in full for 90 days or 1667 a month split pay over the 90 days.
Okay, so 4K painful, or what was the other one?
1667 a month, three payments over the 90 days. So it comes up to 5K.
So 50,000 revenue, 4K pay in full, 1667. What does this come out to in 3 months? $5,000. Okay.
Yeah. But I recently changed it to that. It was like probably like a month ago. I changed it to that. So
why did you do that? Just so it gives you more leverage for paid in fulls?
Just to increase the price. Because before I was doing like 1,500 a month, 3K paid in fulls, and then I've been gradually increasing the price.
Who's the offer for? Who do you work with? You said blue collar. Who is that?
Yeah, so I work with more like audio visual companies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, what's give me give me a company that does that. Like, is there
other companies that like that design, install, and sell the equipment for like high end, like actual like home cinemas?
Okay, so if I buy a TV, would they bring that, or it's only if it's like a home theater system?
Well, so I bring them home theater jobs, and so it's like.
So you do home theater systems.
Yeah.
So it's super high end.
Yeah? I mean, it varies, right? Like I've had clients close jobs for like 4
Okay, so like the leads you're getting people who sell this to richer folks, right?
Yeah, it varies though, because I've had some clients close jobs for like $4,000, and some people close jobs for like $65,000.
But just in short, I just want to make sure I understand the person that you're getting audiovisual companies who sell, let's say, home theater systems to maybe someone like me. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're helping those companies get more leads that they can sell to, correct? Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting. Like, I never would have thought of that. That's a very interesting business model. What do they sell these for typically? Do you know? Like, is it
average is probably like 10 to 30K.
10 to 30K. How did you find this niche?
I think my dad like once mentioned he knew somebody doing this.
So did your dad give you the idea?
No, I just like overheard him saying he knew somebody that does this. I was like, let me try this.
Okay, what's the funnel look like?
So it's add to lead form.
You use lead form? Well, okay, so let's back up though. I'm not talking about the leads you get for your clients. What about the leads where you get these people?
Oh, my ads.
Your leads, yeah.
So it varies a lot because I used to do, when I started, I did add to lead form when I was like in the summer. So I didn't have school. So I was able to just call people all day. Sure. Then school started and then I moved over to website opt-ins.
And then from here, they book a 15-minute call and then you'll actually do the call. And then from there, you'll book a 60, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any VSL at all?
No.
0. Okay. But what I'm saying is do you know
numbers?
CTR, lead costs, do you know those numbers?
So cost per show to that is about 133.
Wow, that's great. And then that doesn't even include your no-show, so it's lower technically, right?
Yeah, that's show-ups.
What's the lead cost?
Lead cost, so the total is 36 across just lifetime.
$36 per lead?
Yeah, and that's...
So you're telling me that basically 1 out of 4 leads are booking a demo?
I guess, yeah.
Dude, that's great. They're not even booking; they're showing up, right? Because what's the number here?
Like usually 1 out of 2 to 1 out of 3 of those 15 minutes are going to.
So let's say 50, can you say 50%? Or is that too high? Lower?
40%.
40. Okay, so say 40%.
Yeah.
Okay. And just so I understand, what does your ad say? What is it like? Are you a audio visual expert? Or what does it say?
Attention, AV companies, and then it's just are you tired of Angie's List? Hanging TV, because their pain points are they do a lot of low-tier jobs, like hanging TVs and such, and working with third-party lead sites. Okay. Just giving shared leads. Okay. So I just hit their pain points, and then I just hit them with an offer.
Right, so your pitch is they're usually doing let's say lower price TVs, and you're hey, I'm gonna help you get clients that are gonna do these big behemoth TV systems. Is that accurate?
Yeah, home cinema, because obviously those pay better, but most of the people enjoy it because they do this as a passion.
A couple other questions. How do you target these leads? So like, what do you put in here to like get
lookalike audience, custom
what?
audience. Yeah, so I do a lookalike audience that I have a list. So I get a lookalike. I put that list in, then I have a lookalike audience. So that's I do a 1%.
Okay.
And I target the custom list in one ad set.
But just so I understand, like, how did you build that initial audience?
Yeah.
Like,
so I just used a scraper and then scraped like keywords that I found on like Google Maps and everything, and just got a big list of that.
you actually scrape these types of people and then you put them in and create a lookalike.
Yeah, that's what.
Wow.
That's
okay.
That's what Joel Kaplan teaches.
Very
that's
nice.
What I found most people do.
Okay.
But I'm also in the process of expanding the list because I did it on my own, so it's not that good. I just paid somebody last week like $425 to get all of the people. Well, no,
Just like bad info.
No, it's good. It's just like it's not that much. It was only like 7K people. So I paid somebody last week, and this should be done soon to get all of the people in my niche on Yelp and on Yellow Pages. I'm gonna just add that to my strip, but I do a 1% lookalike audience. Then I also just target the custom list that's straight up.
1% lookalike of like your Instagram. Well, it's not even 1% of your Instagram or Facebook. It's really a list. What else do you target?
The list itself.
So like custom audience and lookalike. Okay, so your lookalike audience, custom audience,
and then the last one is interests. So I just found
what do you target on interests?
So I basically target like interests of people that literally have like this, like that they're in the niche listed as like their job.
Okay, so like just like, interests that you think they might have.
These are like low reach interests, is what I've been calling them. So like pretty much if they have this interest, like they're in this niche.
Give me an example.
Like AV tech.
Okay. So add to opt-in, you get $36 a lead. You get a lot of shows. That's a great cost per call.
No, and you know it's funny about that. So that whole cost per lead and everything, and cost per call, that's inflated because what I was saying earlier is like I noticed with website opt-ins, the cost per lead just went up over time, and it just kind of stayed high. Like I can't get the landing pages to convert. But with lead forms, like I did super, like these past 2 days, right? I was doing $350 a day in budget, so I spent $700 on between Friday and Saturday. I got like 30 leads.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, lead form or opt-in, I don't care as long as it works. Usually, my experience with lead forms has been bad, but I think that's more for online leads. Yeah. Like when I say online, like online businesses. I think with what you're doing, that's perfect. Yeah. So you're doing a lead form here. Okay.
Now I'm switching to lead form, and I'm gonna make it so I have a super high daily budget, but I only run the ads.
But from the lead form, they're still gonna push to the 15, right?
Yeah, and I found I call the leads within under 5 seconds, and either they book by themselves or I just get
not what if you're at school.
So that's the thing. That's why I'm starting. That's why I was doing website opt-in before, because I was running the ads 7 days a week, so I'd have people self booking. But now I'm realizing I should only run them when I'm out of school, so then I can just call the people right when they opt in.
Interesting. Or you need to hire someone. Have you thought about that?
But that'd be like hiring a whole salesperson at like $15K a month in revenue. Like
no, like not you could hire someone like $1,500
to call and people.
Yeah, why didn't you hire one of your freaking homies? Couldn't you do that? Or like who do you know that like? Well, so here's what I would do. So let's back up. This is really good, dude. I'm super impressed with you. It's like this is so fucking cool. Okay, so the first thing is this is working. Okay, so a couple things. I want to give you a couple ideas though. Okay, yeah. So right now you're at $15K a month. All right.
Yeah.
That's cool, but the one thing about this is like it's going to be harder to scale past a certain point. Now you're 15, you're crushing it. I don't want you to change this, but something I want you to think about is you could start running add to like lead form or opt-in, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then you could try doing the VSL with a booking link here to a 60-minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why would I test that? The reason I would test it is one of two things. If they come through here and they book a 60-minute call, you don't have to call them.
Yeah.
If they don't book a 60-minute call, once they do the lead form, you're still going to call them anyway. So to me, there's no risk. Like to me, it's like if you could get this instead of that, I actually would prefer that because you might cut it out. But if you don't, you're right. Because right now you're calling them either way because they're either going to book a 15, you got to talk to them, or you're calling them. Now, I guess the question I have is, how many people do you have to call versus self-book?
Probably half the people that I reach.
Okay, so like if someone comes through here, you say 40% of the leads book, and let's say half book on their own, half you have to call.
Wait, no, I was saying 40% of the people on the 15-minute convert into the demo and show up.
Oh, so this is 40%. How many of the leads book a 15?
80 to 90%.
Let's say 85% convert, and you have to call half of them. So the thing I'm thinking about is one of two things. I don't think you have to do this right away, but I'd have this in your back pocket. Does this make sense to you?
The problem with what I'm doing now from 15-minute to then a 60-minute is you get people dropping off in between then. Because it's just a hassle to schedule 2 different calls, especially with my schedule as well.
Well, yeah, because like in terms of this, when you set these calls, not all of them show up, right? So that's where the 60% drop off. Like from this to here, is that 40%?
40% of the people on the 15-minute get on a 60-minute.
Right, so you're losing 60%.
And the reason for that is So I mean, one, I'm in school, so I'm only able to book at like weird times.
A question I have for you is like, have you tested doing the same thing, but just calling them later? I know it's not ideal, but like, why not just let them opt in? You run ads all day, and then you get home, you start hammering people. And then like, yeah, you call them later. Have you tested that though?
So one thing I do is if I ever am sometimes late to a lead, I call them from a number in their area code rather than just like mine, and that helps with pickups, especially because they're a business owner. But I don't know. I just feel like if I did that, I'd be losing out on a lot more of the opportunities. Whereas when I call people within like 5 seconds, it's either they pick up or they book on their own.
So a couple things to think about. This would be easy for you to test.
Yeah.
Right? You would do the same thing you're doing now. The only difference is you'd create a VSL, and the VSL, I can give you structure for that if you want, but it's really just, all right, so if you're this type of person, you want this result, this is what I'm going to walk you through how to get it. Like it would just be more of like getting people straight to the demo without doing as much work.
I know. So the reason I like the 15-minute is because one, it lets me qualify, because if they're in an area we have a client in, or if they, because some of these people don't sell the equipment for these projects, they only do installs or just are not qualified. So if I have a 60-minute block, given how little time I already have.
But what you're forgetting, and look, here's what I want you to understand. I'm not saying to change, because you're making 15 grand a month. You're 15 years old, so like you're doing fucking great. Just stay with it. But what I'm saying is, if you tested this funnel, what I would do is this: is maybe you make the lead form like less questions, right? Because you don't need all the info, and then when they book here, you ask all the info you need, and then with Typeform, if they give you answers you don't want, it auto cancels the call, or if it's good, it comes through. Again, it's not something you need to do right now because you're making money. So my job is not like, oh, you're making 15K, let's do a completely different system. I'm just saying as you scale, like if you get to 50K a month, 75, 100, this will be easier to run than this, because this you're gonna have to have a full team. You have to have a couple setters that are calling those people all day. Just something to think about, okay? So I just want to make sure we're doing everything. So you got emails and you got text on the back end, right? And then you do retargeting ads and stuff too?
No.
Why don't you do those?
I don't know how to do them, honestly, but I also just haven't been doing it. I don't know why, but
You don't know how to do retargeting ads?
I don't know how to, and I also just haven't, like I haven't been told to, or I haven't thought about it.
Okay. So do you know what those are?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I say retarget, what that usually would mean is like if someone came to your opt-in page and didn't opt in, you can run a retargeting ad back here, or to get them to opt in, or if people did opt in but didn't book a call, you can run an ad to get them to book a call. Do you understand that?
I mean, the thing is, so like this market, there's like 15 to 20K people probably in
So
US.
it's very small. It also, like, here's what you need to understand with retargeting. It's super cheap. It's super cheap. So like, how much money do you spend a day on your ads?
I try to be spending around 700 a week.
700 a week. Okay. So for context, if you're spending 3,000 a month, right? So about $100 a day, let's say.
I like just started doing that though. I just upped my ads.
Okay.
But yeah.
So if you're spending 3,000 a day to retarget, I mean, bro, you could probably spend like $5 a day. If you're like, here's my thought process. It's not going to hurt you to do it. It's only going to help you. The way I retarget is two ways. People who click to the lead form but don't fill it out. So I send them like, hey, saw you clicked on the opt-in but you didn't fill it out. Please go back and like whatever. And then the other one is like if they fill it out but they didn't book a call, and I push them back to the call page. You don't have to, but I don't see why you wouldn't, man, because it's so cheap. And it's like you're doing all this heavy work right here. So it's like, what's another $5 a day? What's that going to cost you a month? $120? It's like, who cares, right? $150? I mean, like, what gave you the idea to do this?
I like money.
I know, but like, other than that, like, did you grow up poor or like?
No.
So like, what?
In Miami,
So well, yeah, I guess I mean, but like, why do you like? What made you do this?
I don't know. I hate school. I mean, so like. And it's not like I'm bad in school, so...
Do your parents love school?
Yeah, but the school...
You said yeah.
The school I go to, you know, in Miami, because I just moved from New Jersey.
Why did you move? Your dad? Or
Weather.
just like work?
Weather.
Yeah, it's terrible up there.
I mean, it's nice being here, you know, when you kind of do this stuff.
It's terrible up there. So I guess I was just curious how you came up with the money, and you explained it.
So I started with Instagram DMing and cold calling.
And how did you do Instagram DM? You were just doing hashtags?
I just searched up a company in my niche, and then suggested accounts, and then I just go through all of those, go through their follower.
Cold calling, where'd you get the list for cold calling?
Google Maps. And Instagram DMing, I was doing it in school. So I was in school just...
And then and this all came from taking Joel's course?
Just a bunch of YouTube videos, and yeah, I watched some of Joel's videos.
But you didn't buy anything. You've done everything for free. Bro, you're a hoss,
I first bought something at like 13K a month. It was a coaching program. It was 5K.
So this is so cool. I'm super impressed with you. This is great. The only other number I want is what's your sales cost of acquisition? So how many clients If like, tell me your last month, you spent how much and how many clients did you get? How much revenue did you do?
So time I literally looked at my ad account like 2 days ago. I just did the maximum amount I spent divided by people I've closed from.
Okay, and what are they usually putting down? What do they pay you? They pay you 4,000?
Now we're either doing a 4K pay for 1667.
Okay.
But also some of the people that I closed when I was not that good at sales, which also many kind of wants some help with, but I was closing them for like $500 deposits.
So I just want to know, all I want to know right now is this number accurate? So meaning that on average, let's just say this is the minimum you get down, you're getting one sale for every $366 you spend. And that is usually the lowest you take.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Wow, dude. Okay, so just looking at this, the only issue really is that you go to school. So we got to get you to drop out of school.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Don't tell your mom I said that, bro.
No, I am.
But like, really, what's your bottleneck? It just seems it's time, right?
Just like 2-3 days ago, I changed my ads to where I'm gonna just spend like $350 a day, but only run them like 2-3 days a week with lead form. Because like I said, the lead form, like I literally my cost per booking with lead form for the 15-minute call is like it's lower than the cost per website opt-in. Like,
so like what? How much lower? Like half?
No, it's like the same cost.
Okay, so here's the thing: we can't quit school for at least 2 years, right? No. Yeah. What are your parents' thoughts on college? Like, do they?
Well, no, I'm not going. They are.
But do they know?
Yeah, they know.
Are they cool? Like they're cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so first I just want to be clear. I'm not telling you what to do with your parents' stuff. Okay, that's your parents. But like, what is their thoughts on high school? Like, do they want you to finish?
Well, yeah, but I mean, everybody knows like high school's kind of worthless.
So let's talk about school a little bit. Well, what's your interactions at school? Like, are they positive mostly? Do you get
Like
picked on at all? Like, is there any? No, I got bullied as a kid, so that's why I'm asking.
No.
Okay, so you're friends with people. It's a good environment for you.
I mean, I just moved, obviously, but yeah.
So it's been good.
Yeah, it's been good, especially as well my grades. Like, I mean, in the school that I go to now, I have the highest PSAT score.
If I could go back in time with what I know now, because I'm 31, you're 15, so I'm twice your age. If I could go back in time, that's crazy, by the way. I think the benefit of going to school is like you're interacting with other students. You have like it's good interpersonal skills, right? And it's good to like decision making and stuff like that. The stuff you learn there though is pretty worthless overall. Most of the stuff you're going to use the rest of your life you've already learned, like arithmetic and like simple mathematics, grammar. That stuff's positive. In terms of you making money, the irony here is that if you were full-time out of school, you'd probably be doing triple what you're doing.
Yeah, easily.
Just because like you're working all day. So before I go into what I think you should do on some certain things, what are the things you want help with? Or you're like, hey, I don't know what to do here. Is there anything that like comes to mind?
I mean, you were kind of talking about it, but I want to really refine my sales process because I don't like doing the 15-minute intro call because doing that, like you have this whole emotional build-up, this whole connection, and you get to the end of the call, and then nothing's really happened with them. They haven't because a lot of these guys that are on the phone are like, I just want to know how this works, how much you charge, because like nobody's else is doing this, so they're super curious. And so we have this build-up, we build like a great connection and emotional connection, and I get their problems, their desires, and then we just lose that on go to 60-minute, where then people don't show up because they're like, okay, I didn't get any value out of this call. But also when we get on the 60-minute, then it's like I have to spend the first 10-15 minutes doing what I already did so I can get them in an emotional state.
Right.
Go to the pitch. And
Okay.
I don't like doing that.
So when you one call close people, are they going through the same funnel or what does it look like?
So the people have one call closed. Like I give you an example. I had one guy, he followed me on Instagram and I saw he owned a company in this market. And so anybody that follows me on Instagram that like owns a company that does this, I just drop him a voice message. Hey,
what's your Instagram look like? Can I see it?
Let me see what your page looks like.
So it's just some testimonials and results, which we do a good social proof as well. So that's been helpful. And then I just posted a couple.
And they know you're this 15-year-old kid?
I mean,
Do they
if
know?
they ask, I say, yeah, I'm in high school. Like, how old are you? I just say I'm in high school.
What an absolute gangster, bro. Okay. Guaranteed results you don't pay. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about a 15-minute call. The point of the 15-minute call is to qualify them for a sales call.
It's to qualify, and then it's also to build rapport and connection and trust so that they show up to the 60-minute because of my schedule, because I have to make them book at a weird time.
Well, so, I mean, but you only have really one option, right? You got to run that other funnel.
I know.
I don't see another option. Like, do you see another option? What are you thinking of? Because you seem like your wheels are turning, but I'm trying to understand where you're going with it.
So like I said, I do in the lead form, I ask them, do they own a company in this market?
Yeah.
Like, yes, no. And then I also ask them what the revenue is. Some people that come in, like they don't even own a company in the market. They just say they do. And it's like.
The questions you have, are they multiple choice?
So it's, yeah. Do you own a X
Okay,
company?
so can you leave them open-ended?
How do you think that would fix it?
When you do an application, anytime you do multiple choice, you're always going to get bullshit answers because it's like, do you make money? Yes or no? Everyone's like, yes, even though they're broke, right? But if you go, do you make money? Yes or no? And it's like this, and all your questions are a type out, you're going to get a lot more info. right? The downside of that is like you can't use logic. So like, you know, Typeform, for example, that's the downside. So here's how we do it. They'll click the ad, they go to the DM, and then my setters will go in and qualify them and then push them to the call, or they can book from the VSL. Now, what's cool is if they book a call and they give us bad answers, we'll go follow up. So like what I'm thinking with you is if you ran this funnel and they book a call and you're concerned, you reach out and say, hey, I saw you booked a call at XYZ time, but I had a couple questions about your form, da 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 da. And then if they answer them good, you keep the call. If they don't, you cancel it. That's really how one call closes work, because you still need to qualify. But what we're trying to cut out, if we can, is a 15-minute call. I'm not against a 15-minute call, but just so you understand, you're manually qualifying versus like the whole point of this is it does more for you. Yeah. That's the only way I see you doing it. Like, do you see a different way?
But I'm like afraid if I do that, right, even if I haven't go through the qualification process and I made sure they're qualified, just them booking like a 60-minute call, like at the times that I book, I'm only able to book 3:45 p.m. Eastern time onwards. I just still feel like they're not going to really, show up.
Well, why wouldn't they show up?
For most of these guys, these contractors, like, their mornings are like the only times they're either at home or in the office ready to take these calls. And like all the people I speak to, and I'm like, yeah, let's sit on a video call.
Right. So it's like you're saying, oh, they won't show up. It's like you already lose 50% anyway. So why, like, so what if some of them don't show up?
Because I feel like I'd lose more if I did a 60-minute.
Why though?
I just feel like they'd no show, honestly.
But you don't really know though.
Yeah.
You have to test it. So my question is like, do you want to do one call close or not? Because if someone clicks an ad and does a lead form, then you call them and set a call, that's what you're doing right here.
Yeah.
So that's not any different.
Yeah. Why the VSL? I'm curious. Like, what would you put in the VSL?
Because think about it. Like, no one's gonna book a 60-minute call right off the bat, bro. Yeah. I don't think so. So like, because the whole point of the VSL is it's like homework. Okay, so like, let's say you didn't know who I was. Like, how did you find out about me?
I saw the video you did with Ben, like 3-4 weeks ago.
So let's say you never saw that, and you saw an ad, and the ad was like, you clicked here, and it was like, fill out all your information and book a sales call, and then it just books the call and that's it. And they're like, what the fuck is this? The whole point of the VSL is you can break it down. So like if you go to elitecos.com, we have a 17-minute video that's like how I built a $70 million company, da 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 da, and it breaks it down.
Yeah.
So the point of the VSL is like, and I can work you through the framework, but you get on, you be like, now I'm gonna break down the 3 key things you're not doing that my agents, like whatever. And then you basically walk them through, like, here's what we do, here's what most people don't do. And it kind of gets them like prep for the call. And it's like, so on this call, we'll see if it's a fit, etc. Like, that's why you would do a VSL, because if you're going to go to a one call close and you just go add to lead form to the 60, dude, that's not going to work, I don't think. Because the whole reason you do the 15 is so they get an idea of what you're doing as well. So you build trust. VSLs build trust as well. And I think you need that if you're going to do the 60. Here's what I'd recommend. You are like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this.
Well, yeah, I don't really mind doing it, to be honest. It's just, it's hard with school to do it because
So I'll go to your second option, but I just want to be clear with you. There's no other way for you to do a one call close than this. That's the only way to do it. You understand that? Yeah. Or like if you disagree, tell me how else you see it, because I don't know another way.
Do you put no questions in the lead form, or you just do like name, email, phone number?
Name, email, do you own a company, right? The minimum you need, right? Because the whole point of this.
You get the number?
And the number, right? So name, email, yeah. Because like if you're gonna call every single lead, no matter what, then you don't need all the other questions, do you? But end of the day, dude, the way you always know everything, and you're gonna learn, and like the coolest thing is you're in high school right now, and you're making more money than every high schooler in the whole world. Is like you just can use the next 3 years to just fucking test and learn so much. Like this is the coolest time of your life. So what I'm saying is this: if I have 2 lead forms like this, and this has 3 questions, and this has 8, who's more likely to drop off? Probably this person. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Like you basically are having to book every single person yourself and have 15-minute calls. With this one, what's cool is they might book a 60-minute on their own. Or if you go call everyone, you're doing the same thing you're doing here anyways. Yeah. So what's the difference? The biggest issue really is your time constraint. Yeah. Okay. So what I would say is this: keep doing this, and then if you're spending $3,000 a month, then what you could do is like, let's say you spend $2,500 on this main one, and then you put like $500 up here and just see if it does better. Yeah. The other part that I would really encourage you to do is you need to hire a setter, bro. The biggest issue is like you don't have time to do all the setting. Yeah. So in a perfect world, just so you understand how setters usually get paid. So typically what you do is you pay a setter $1,500 a month plus 3% of calls that close. So what that means is in a month, if you did 15,000, yeah, they get like $500. So this would be like a part-time job that you could find like maybe a stay-at-home mom or maybe like an 18-year-old or 19-year-old kid, something like that.
Yeah.
And what you would do is you would train them to do the calls for you so that you could scale the business while you're at school. There's only two things you can do to scale right now, because yes, you can spend more on ads, but you're going to run into the same time issue. So at some point, if you don't fix the time issue, then you're just going to run out. It's going to be the same bottleneck, right? You're going to be like, I don't have any more time. So there's only two ways for you to do it. You either drop out of school, which doesn't sound like that's an option with your parents.
No. So I turned 16 in like 2 months. I'm planning to do that.
Have you told them that?
No.
Oh, fucking hell, dude. Good luck with that.
No, because I can get emancipated. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, but dude, you just don't want to strain that relationship with your parents. I would just have an honest talk with them, and that needs to be your last resort.
It's also illogical for me to like be in school still. Doesn't make sense, you know.
I mean, I agree, but it's also like you just have just promise me this. Like, your parents love you, so remember, your parents don't care if you're rich. They just want you to be okay. So just remember that when your mom fights back. That's like today. She doesn't care if we do this video. She just doesn't want us to like kill you. You understand?
Yeah.
The same thing in school. So like, she doesn't care if you're rich. I support that decision, but just make sure you try. Don't be like try to talk to them, try to get them to understand, etc.
I also am talking with like one of my school's guidance counselors. I like told her about what I'm doing and how I.
All right, so let's just walk through some scenarios, and then hopefully his mom doesn't watch this video. So if you're actually going to drop out, like if you're like 100% certain, like please talk to your parents before. Don't wait till the day of. Like, you need to talk to them like sooner than later, bro. The first thing is like, if you're gonna get out of school on February 1st, then my advice would be just to hold the hatch until February 1st, and then you can start doing more on your own, and then you could hire, right? Because there's really, to me, it was like, there's no point if that's really your goal. Now, if you're not, then we don't want to wait 2 years to scale the company, right? So then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go get a setter, and typically what you're going to do for a setter is you're going to do 1,500 plus 3%. Now, remember, the more you can pay someone, the better talent they'll usually have, okay? So with you, because you're only doing 15,000 a month, 15% or 3% of that is not a lot. So let's just do the math. 2,000 is not bad, but that's very part-time, right? So it's not like you could probably convince someone to be doing that all day long, unless they're like 18, maybe close to your age, or like it's a stay-at-home mom, something like that, right? So your other option would just be to raise the base, right? So instead you could be like, hey, I'll pay you 2,500 a month plus 3% until the business is bigger, right? That's kind of where they need to pay. That's what you would do, okay? And then you would have to track their KPIs. What you want to be looking at is you want to look at dials, pickups, sets, closes, and you'd want to track that on a sheet, okay? Where do you call people now? Go high level?
I just use my cell phone because that's the quickest way.
That's
like,
fine.
I get the blank person became a new lead, click the number, click call.
That's fine. That's fine. So this would be the next step in your business for sure. All I want to do is quickly walk you through how I hire someone. Okay, so the first thing I do is like, you can obviously send out like emails. You can do like social media, right? You can like hit people on your list, which may not make as much sense for you because you're doing more of like these types, like audiovisual versus like I get a lot of coaches and stuff. But that's the first thing. The next place I really like, dude, I really like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I pay for it, but like I find really good quality on LinkedIn. Then what I do is I attach my type form. The best hires, it's like they have experience typically in what you want them to do. And especially like setting in sales, you want to hear like audio. So like when they're filling out the type form, you know, I'm like, have you done sales experience? Have you set before? You know, what have you done? What is your current job? And then at the end, I'm like, tell me in 30 seconds why I should hire you. And I do that because some of them are like, you should hire me because and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to hire you for a setter. And then some are like, hey, you should hire me. I've done like, you kind of want to hear that because it's not worth getting on an interview. And then like, howdy, you know, it's like, it's not going to work for me. So that's the first thing. Now, once they get on the interview, the things I'm usually looking for is the first is like, because you're 15, it's really cool. You probably don't have this yet. I would make a company culture, okay? The company culture is like the values that you want to embody. So like, let's say you worked for me, or like, let's say you were on my team. I got like 65, 70 people right now. The best people on my team, the traits they have is the culture I want. Does that make sense? So like for me, some of the stuff we have is like competitive greatness, which just means like they want to do their best, right? Because there's some people, like you're 15, you obviously want to do your best. Like I can tell, like you want to win, you want to fucking make money. That's great. Other stuff I'll put is like proactivity. Other stuff is like radical candor, which is like transparent communication. So the first thing is like, if you don't have a company culture, I would try to find 3 things that like you want every person on your team to like really embody. That's how you tell people, you're like, if you don't have these traits, I don't want you to work here.
Yeah.
Right. And then they need to be traits that are important to you, or like traits that like you find valuable in other people. So like the second thing is like, here's the job and expectations. And then the goal is like, you're not trying to be buddy with them. You don't have to be a dick, but it just means like, if you like, let's say you were gonna work for me, I'd be like, look, dude, you're 15, that's great, but like, here's the expectations. I don't care how old you are. It's like, this is the standard. You have to hit the standard, 15 or 50. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you'd be like, so you understand, like, I'm not just like, oh, you're 15, it's whatever. I want to do that. Okay. Once I do that, then what I start asking is, I say jobs they've had. The easiest way for me to be able to figure out what you could do for my company is I would just say, all right, so tell me what jobs you've had, and then like what do you do in a day for that job? Yeah. Because what you're gonna say is like, okay, so I was the janitor, so I'd get up, I would like clean the rooms, I do the bathrooms, I'd mop the floors, so I could understand like what skills you may have based on the jobs in your description, right? So that's a great way to do it. The next thing I like to ask after that, what they want in a company. Some people want more money, some want more time off, whatever. Do be weary of people who say they like a lot of time off. That tells me they don't really want to be that great, because being great is usually means you got to put in a lot of work. Not always, but that's something to be wary of, okay? Once you do that, I like to ask how much they want to make. Let's say like you're trying to hire a setter and you're like, hey, my budget for a setter is like $1,500 to $2,500 base plus 3%.
They say like something under. And that's
well, so here's the cool part. What do you want to make? Oh, like $800 a month's good. Okay, I'll see if I can work that out. I'll get back to you. And then it's like you can get them at that price. Yeah. If they say something crazy and they're like, well, I want like 7,000, you'd be like, all right, dude, so let me slow your roll there. There's no way I can pay you 7,000. And that's totally cool if you're looking for that. But I just want to be clear, this is a setter position. My company has a lot of potential to grow. But like 7,000 isn't going to be realistic till we get closer to 100 grand, right? Because like as you make more, the percentage goes up, right? That helps you kind of know if they're in the range you're looking for. Because some people, like, they'll be great interviews, and then you send them an offer, and they're like, oh, yeah, this is like, I want like 10,000. You're like, dude, you're going to be like a customer service agent. What are you talking about, right? Yeah. And if you ask those 5 questions, more times than not, you're going to make a great hire, okay? Then the rule of thumb is like, hire slow, fire fast. So especially sales guys, like, if they can't perform in 30 days, cut them. Don't waste a bunch of time. It's not worth it, okay? So if you get a setter, it's like, don't expect them to be as good as you possibly to start, but it's like they're not hitting KPIs in 30 days. You just got to cut them. And you're going to have to get used as a 15-year-old kid. That's a big adjustment, but you're going to have to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations with people. Okay. If you can't lead, you can't run a business. Like you'll be a solopreneur, but you'll never be an entrepreneur.
What about interviews after that?
This is an interview.
Oh, so you just have them do that on a type form or?
No. So on the type form's already happened at this point.
And what do you ask on that?
Huh?
What do you ask on the type form?
Just on the type form, like, let me give you some examples. Okay, so let's say like an appointment setter. So I'll show you like some questions. It's like first and last name, best phone number, how many years of sales experience do you have, right? Because it's like the more the better. Yeah. Okay. Please explain what kind of sales experience you have. So a lot of times you want to find like, if you're getting a setter, it's like, have they done something similar to what you're doing? Then this one is like, have you worked remotely before? Are you looking for full-time or part-time? When can you get started? And then a resume. And then what I would also add here that we don't have is an audio clip. So the audio clip's like, in 30 seconds, tell me why I should hire you. And what you're really looking for is like, do they sound normal? So, but the questions is like, you want to be able to look at this quickly. Because look, we have 350 responses. Yeah. I don't want to take all those interviews. I want to take, like 5 interviews. Yeah. So you want to have questions that when you look, it's like, that's a guy I want to interview. Like for sure. And then once you're on the interview, those are the questions you're going to ask. Yeah. Right? Then you can make a formal offer, whatever.
I guess it's like, how do you make sure if I'm still doing those 15-minute calls?
So there's 2 things you can do. So the first and the least, you always want to go least invasive to more invasive. So least invasive would be, hey, so just to be certain, like we're good for 7 o'clock. I don't do any reschedules or cancellations. Like you can 100% make that time. So you make it more of like, you have a no reschedule policy. Right. So on your calendar, when they book the 15, do you have anything in there about no reschedules, no cancellations?
Yeah. I say like due to the high volume applications you receive.
Yeah. So okay. So then what I would do is like on the call say the same thing. The next step up from that is you make them pay. So you're like, hey, it's $100 to book the consultation to make sure you show up, and it's refunded after you show up to the call. That's the only other thing you can do. But there's going to be drop off usually
Yeah.
to some degree.
Do you often like follow up with those people to reschedule? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. I mean, we'll still give them a reschedule, right? But
Yeah.
you're going to get some no-shows. That's just part of the game. So it just depends how much your pain tolerance is. Like if it starts affecting you where you're like, dude, like I scheduled my whole day and like all these people don't show up so you can't make any sales, then you make it more severe. You make it more aggressive. But you always start from like least invasive to like most invasive, right? Which means you start first by just saying, hey, you promise you're going to show up, et cetera. You're going to respect my time, all that on the 15-minute call. And then more invasive is like you literally charge them.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Most people show up to the 15-minute though. Like
the hour calls are a lot harder, right? But also just keep in mind, like on the 15-minute call, you want to make sure they really want to schedule it. Because remember, some people, they're just being nice. It's like a sales call. So they're like, yeah, like I'll be there. And you're like, you're sure? And they're like, yeah, for sure. But they're just saying that because they don't want to be rude.
And how would you recommend doing transition after you're done with the intro? So you go into like their pain, where they're at.
So what I do when I start the calls, I tell them that. I say, hey, look, hey, Brian, super excited to talk to you today. Yeah. This is going to be a quick 15-minute call. All I want to make sure is that you understand what this is, and I know if you're a fit. And then if you are a fit, we'll schedule a longer demo call where I can walk you through the process. Is that cool? So I think making sure you tell them what the point of the call is, and then you quickly go through that. You're like, hey, so based on what I heard, you're not a fit, Or you say, hey, based on what I've heard, you are a fit. So I want to move you to that next call. And so I just think stating at the beginning of the call that this isn't the sales call and it's to see if they're a fit is really what your intention should be. So like when you start the call now, what do you say?
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, just got your application, excited to speak. And then I kind of just address the elephant in the room because a lot of the guys come on the call and they're like, they just want to know how this works, what it is, what we do, like what's the price.
Right.
And so I just straight up address like, hey, like I know you're super curious about all that, but I just want to say straight up, everything we do is custom, and I don't even know if at the moment we can help out. And so the whole purpose of this call is just to even see if we can help you, and if we can, what things might potentially look like for you. And if I think we can help out, I can definitely go into a little bit about what we have going on over here and kind of how that all works.
I think that's fine. I think the biggest thing is you just let them know. It's like, and like if you get a lot of pushback, you say that at the beginning of the call. You're like, hey, so I know you're probably curious about a lot of things like the prices, the plans, etc. Just want to let you know everything's customized. So what all I'm doing on this call is I'm not going to go into any of the logistics. I just want to see if this is a fit for you and if you want to do it. And then if you do, we'll schedule a demo call and we'll go through all that. Cool? And you're just like, I only have 15 minutes for this call. So I just want to stay super clear and concise. And if you do that, you'll also get less kickback because you're telling them from the beginning. It's just pre-framing, right?
Yeah. One of my mentors taught me how to do it, but the way he teaches is like really cool. It's in like a super kind of just salesy way almost, and kind of giving context as to even why. And it's been working really well for me.
I always tell beginners to, and I would still consider you a beginner. You're also 15. So I think that would be a great way for you to do it, to start. As you get more experience in sales, you can possibly drop it. I don't think it's a big deal though too, because it also depends on the sophistication of the buyer. So the guys you're going after, I don't think they're getting on a lot of sales calls, right?
Probably not.
So because they're not getting on a lot of sales calls, it's easier to do that with them.
Well, also I want to, for the pre-frame, what do you do when some people just say like, yeah, no, like I don't make decisions on the spot, or I'm going to take some time to think about it or whatever? What do you do when they deny the pre-frame?
So what I do in that situation is at the end, if you're more than 50% sure that you want to do it, we'll just have you put down a refundable deposit, and then we can schedule a follow-up call. Does that work? Yeah. And if they're like, I still don't do that, then it's your decision at that point. You either just let them do it, or you say, well, hey, no worries then. Like, I just don't think this is a fit because like this is my process to make sure like I don't waste my time. And so I totally understand that's your process, but like I would need you to follow that to do the call. If you can't do it, that's cool. Let's just wrap up. Yeah. And then you end the call. The first thing is I would go for the deposit frame. And then if they don't do that, then you say, you can just be like, all right, well, I'm not going to take the call, but it's your decision, right? Because if you only had like one call that day, I'd probably just take it. If you have like a lot of calls or you're super busy or you could do other stuff, then I probably wouldn't take it.
Yeah. So if I get an objection, it's either like a logistical price objection, as in they literally can't afford to just make the minimum payment $1,667, or it'll be, let me speak to a client.
All right, so check this out. So here's what you're gonna do on price. It's really easy. If you do this, you'll close like every single deal. It's super easy, okay? So the price of the program is $4,000. They're like, okay, yeah, that's too much. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, totally get it, no problem. So you agree, okay? Then I say, is there anything besides price
keeping you from being less than 100%?
Right, so we're gonna isolate. You know what that sounds like, you know what that is. So right, okay, my guy. Okay, so then you isolate. Is there anything besides price? Okay, they go, no, it's just the price. So that's the first tie down because they're like, no, it's just that. It's like, cool. So just to make sure, if we're able to figure the price out today, you're gonna move forward. Double tie down.
Yeah.
right? Because they said twice, it's like, yeah, it's just the price, okay? Now, here's the important part. Well, it's actually after this, but then you go, okay, so what's your cash on hand? Do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason you want cash on hand is why? If I say to you, hey, my program is 16,000 and you say you can't afford it, I'm like, well, what about 12? What about 10? What about 8?
Yeah.
They're like, you're desperate, right? And they know like you're just trying to make a sale. So once you get the cash on hand, right? Say something. So it's like, what's your cash on hand?
Sometimes I'll actually get people that say they have the cash on hand, but they owe money to like their employees and they have to make payouts. Like,
Right. So it's not they can't spend all of it, correct?
Yeah, but like an example would be 2K.
Okay. So let's say they're like, well, all I have on hand is $2,000. So here's what I clarify here though. Okay, because remember, cash on hand is different. That's what they can spend today. So I don't know if you've ever had this, but they're like, yeah, I have $2,000. You're like, cool. And they're like, yeah, but I gotta go sell some stock. Or like, I gotta go sell my house. I'm like, bro, like I asked like what you had now.
Yeah.
Right? Because we want to make a deal now. We don't want to wait 2 days, right? So I clarify, I go, got it. And is that $2,000, is that stuff you have to use on like bills in your family or your team? Or is that $2,000 you have saved up?
Yeah.
And they're usually like, it depends, but they might be like, oh, it's like $2,000 I have saved up. I'm like, cool, so you could spend all of it today if you wanted to. They're like, yeah. Okay, so here's the important part. You're probably not doing this part. So look, the price of the program, like I said, is usually $4,000, right? But that doesn't seem like it's a realistic option for you. And so I'm down to work out a custom solution for you. But before I do, I just want to make sure that you can sign up today.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to figure out a custom solution and then you tell me you need to think about
Fair
it.
trade. Yeah.
Exactly. Right?
I watch your stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so you've seen that.
Yeah.
My guy. All right, dude. I love it. You're already like on top of everything. So then this is key because what happens is then they're gonna do one of two things. They're either gonna say, oh, well, like what's the price though? And you're like, well, like I said, I don't want to get into logistics until I know that you can actually move forward. Because again, like it's $4,000. I'm down to figure something out, but it would be customized. And before I get into that, I want to make sure you can do something today if it fits.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, yeah, they're like, yeah, that works great. And you're like, cool. So I don't think you should spend nothing, but I also don't think you should spend
To like empty out your bank
everything.
account. Yeah.
So what I suggest is this. You said you had $2,000 in savings. Let's go ahead and put the $2,000 down, and then we can do $1,000 every 30 days after that. Does that sound fair enough? And what you're doing is like, here's the part where you have to be in smart, which you are smart because you're 15 and you make more money than most grown men, is you need to come up with a solution in your head that you know fits the bill. When you give them the solution, they're going to do one of two things. They're going to either say, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Close the deal. Or they're going to say, oh, that doesn't work. Now, what you don't want to do is, if that happens, then what you're going to say is, okay, got it. Well, based on what you said, that seemed like a fit for me. So if that doesn't work, what's the most ideal situation for you? You put it back on them.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want to do is as soon as you start dropping the prices, you lose frame. They're going to, like, you come off salesy. So then they're like, well, like I was thinking like this. And then what happens is then you either take the deal they give you if it works, or you're just like, hey, like that's too low. The lowest I could do is this. And then you wrap the call up, right? And then if it's any other issue, it's a belief issue, right? So then you just attack belief.
I've been bringing it up because I've had some people that are able to afford the 4K. It's just a belief thing. And then I'm like, and then just to close the deal, I'm just like, okay, if we were able to split the payments up to you to make you more comfortable, would you be able to move forward with it now?
Like I've had deals like this where I'm like, so the price of our program is $16K. And they're like, oh, I just can't do that. And it's like, well, look, dude, we usually take it up front.
Yeah.
I'm down to customize a solution for you, but before I do, I need to make sure you move forward today. Is that cool? And they're like, yeah. It's like, so here's what I'm thinking. Let's do 4K down and then 4K a month. And it's just, all I gave them was a payment plan, which is like, and they're like, oh, really? You'll do that? So the goal here is like, you want them to feel like they're getting a deal. Everyone wants a fair deal, right? Nobody wants to feel like they got, taken advantage of. So what happens when you drop the price and they're like, oh, I want to do the pay in full, but I can't. What do you do?
I had one guy, for example, that wanted to do that, and I just collected $1,000 after the first 30 days. He gave us a video testimonial, plus I collected $2,000.
Yeah, or that's the other way you could do is like, look, if you can't do it today, if you can put down, $1,500 today, and then you pay, the $2,500 in the next 30 days, we can do that. We've done deals like that.
Yeah. I'd honestly, though, if I were to do that, do you think it'd be something you can be like, hey, you can put down this amount today, and then when we go live, you put the rest down?
I would just drop the higher price because, like, for example, if you were like, hey, so the price of the program is usually $5K. If they could pay $5K, you'll get $5K. If they can't, you can always lower the price the way I taught you right now.
So you think I should just raise the paid in full to $5?
Like, why are you scared to raise the price?
Well, just at least in my mindset. right? Because I bought that one coach program for 5K, and then I said, yeah, let me split the payments up.
It's up to you. It does, like, here's the thing. I don't think it makes a massive difference. I don't see the big need to do it because I'm just like, I just say the highest price that I want, and then I can always work down.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, if the most you can get or the most you feel comfortable with charging is $5,000, I would just say $5,000 and work down.
I guess it's just a minimum relief, like me thinking it's not possible for somebody to do a 5K paid in full.
But the thing is, you don't need to be scared about it. If you're nervous, what I did when I was in fitness is I started at 1,500.
Yeah.
And then I just worked up to 3,200. And then the reason I stopped at 32 is I saw, hey, when I sell below 32, I get too many yeses. When I sell above 32, I got too many no's. So I was like, around here's the sweet spot. But the way I tested it without losing clients is you just keep raising the price and then you work through this objection.
Yeah.
You won't lose clients. But what will happen is you'll get to a point where you're like, hey, every time I say this price, almost no one can afford it. And then you start working down slightly. So if you're closing 40 to 50% and you're 15, you're not that experienced, you probably could raise the price.
Yeah.
Right? And end of the day, one of the fastest ways to double your business is what? Double the price. You don't have to do anything different and you make more money.
What if I noticed when doing the 5K, like more people end up getting on a payment plan and then I just get less paid in full?
If you get defaults, it matters. If they pay, it doesn't matter when you get the money as long as you get it. But if, like for example, why do most people want paid in fulls? If we do a 16,000 program up front and they're doing 4K a month, there's a huge chance they could default, right? Because that's a big payment. So with you, there's not a lot of risk because it's very low payments overall. Like and it's only a 3-month plan, right?
Yeah. And even when you have a contract signed, like what if somebody decides to just go against it and just like not pay you?
You can try to get them to pay, or you can like, hey, your card didn't go through, da-da-da. You follow up, but ultimately if they won't pay, then you just cut all their access and you move on.
What would you do if when you get like objections like about the price, or they just get nervous about the price, but they can afford it?
Issues. So the way I fight belief is when you think about it, what are they thinking about? So if they're scared to do it, like what are they thinking about?
Yeah, most of them are just scared if it's gonna work for them.
So what they're thinking about is what? The worst possible thing that can happen, right? So what I say is I go, hey, I totally get it. What's the worst thing that you think can happen, right? And they're like, well, that it won't work. I'm like, okay, so let's walk through that. Because ultimately, if we can get rid of that, then they're gonna move forward. So remember, I think I saw in your pillars, you have a money back guarantee, right?
So it's like if they don't at least break even on their all-in investment with ad spend plus our fee, then we're gonna work for free.
So they're like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? They're like, well, it's not gonna work. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's walk through that. So the first thing is you can do it and you get results and everybody's happy. It's like the second thing is you can do it and you don't get results. So we'll just put like a 0. And then we'll work with you until you do. Like we will make sure that you at least make back your investment, worst case scenario. So the worst thing that can happen to you is you'll break even.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the third thing is you can do nothing and stay stuck. And then what I say is I go, so out of all 3 of those options, the only one that guarantees that you stay stuck and don't progress in your life is doing number 3. What you want to do is you go through that and you're like, look, there's no pressure, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're up against. And like, I just want to help you, so it's your call, but there's really no risk here. And you just take the risk away, because as soon as you could take that away, then what happens? Their fear goes down. Some people still won't do it, but that's really all you can attack.
And what about nerves? Like they believe in it, the price makes sense, everything. They're just genuinely nervous.
What I do is if I go through this and they're still like, yeah, but I'm still nervous, I do what I call the identity play, or it's called an identity shift. So it's like, cool. So most of these people you're talking to, they want to make more money, right? Yeah. So then what I do, I'll say, so who do you want to be, right? Because this is typically who they are.
Yeah.
And then this is who they want to be. So I say, well, John, like you said on the call, like you want to make more money, right? Like you want to be successful. You want to have nicer things for your family. You want vacations. Well, the thing is like those types of people, rich people, the person you're trying to become, they invest in themselves. They buy courses. They get in masterminds. They invest in ad agencies. They take risks. And so the thing is like, you don't have to do this, but unless you want to stay exactly where you are, if you want to become that new person, this is going to be the step in that direction, right? So I don't care what you do, but if you don't do this, just know that like you're not becoming the person you want to be. What I'm trying to do is like by using questions, I'm trying to get you to shift your mind. You don't shift people's mindset by telling them, you ask. And then I always will be like, look, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, if this is who you want to become, you have to do this. So like you tell me what you want to do. And then usually you get a lot more sales because not everyone will get over the edge, but you'll get a lot more because then they feel like you're really in it trying to help them. And that's the goal, is like you are trying to help people.
Yeah. It's like the 5K or whatever, but there's also ad spend. They're spending $1,500 a month on ads, so it's $4,500 in ad spend, but that's not upfront at all. That's like
That's just like obviously they got to spend some money.
Yeah, and that price is good though. Like in terms, because the whole program, like for the 90 days, it actually would be 9.5K technically.
End of the day, they can spend whatever they want. It's just like if you want them to re-sign, you kind of know they need to spend that.
Well, I say that's like the minimum.
I mean, your fee is like pretty. I mean, I've seen some agencies like they'll go real low. I mean, they'll do like not really. I think you're in the price range. I think like your price is like $1,500 a month. I think that's fair.
Yeah. How much do you think like you should be aiming to make the client back in terms of like an ROI?
You can get them a 4x on the ad spend. So like if they spend 5K on ads and you get 20K rev, right? So it might not be collected, but like because think about it. If they're paying you 5 and then they spend 5 on ads, they need to probably make at least a 2x.
Yeah. Well, that 20K in rev, they have like 40 to 50% profit margins. So 20K would basically be making them break even in 3 months.
Like now, keep in mind, the more they make, the easier it is too. Because like for example, if you're charging 5K a month and then they're spending 5K a month, they're going to be able to jump a lot more. So the other thing is like you give them a minimum, but it's like but the more you spend, the more you'll make.
Yeah.
I would say on average you need to get a 2x collected. I would probably shoot in a perfect world if you could. If it's 5K ads and then 5K management and it's 50% profit margin, then you're probably needing to shoot for like 35, 40K, in a perfect world. But that's a perfect world. It's not always gonna be perfect, but that's what your end goal should be, I think.
And even if you get that, clients will retain like.
Oh, dude, for sure. After the initial 3 months, how many have stayed and for how long?
So that's the thing. Like it's only been 60 days. So literally the first people that I've signed up on a 90-day agreement, their 90 days isn't even over yet.
Oh, okay. So make sure you track that because what you want if you're gonna sell your agency is you want 8+ months typically.
Yeah.
Minimum.
What about account management? Like how often? Because I'm pretty much, especially on the clients that are lower performing, I try to check in with them pretty much weekly, like just via phone call and via text. How often should you check in with people?
Yeah, so what I would do is when they come on is like you have a training on how to follow up, and it's like you make it as baby proof as possible. So like, a little child could like understand it. So that's like how that should work. But really what you need to have is like how to follow up and then sales calls. Yeah. And so what you would do is like you should be getting probably numbers from them on like, hey, how many appointments came in? How many did you close? And they should be giving you that probably like every 2 or 3 days. And then if they're low, then you're like, hey, where are you having a problem?
Yeah.
And then you start coaching them on that.
Problem is with most of our clients, the real issue is them following up, not only with people that no-show, because some people no-show, but also following up people post-estimate. So after they've sent out the estimate, like the quote, because they have a longer buying
Can you do that part for them? Is it too hard to scale?
That we can't do that for them.
What you need to do is you make SOPs and you put it. You're like the only training I have for you is how to follow up, and the sales calls you have to do it. If you don't do it, you won't be successful. You have to do it, and you just have to like make them do it.
But like I had a client recently. We've been together 2 months. He did a paid in full, and basically we're 2 months in. He's gotten a lot of leads, a lot of appointments, and these are blatantly qualified people. Yeah. He's closed none of them, and so we're going over his numbers. Like, where are the real issues? He's like, yeah, these leads all suck. And then we go over it and realize he's followed up with not a single person.
Nobody, right? Of course, that's what they always do.
Yeah, I know. And then literally, like, he's followed up with none. He's expecting to give them a quote and then them to just pay him the money.
Yeah. So remember, you set realistic expectations. You give them these SOPs, and then what you do to check on it is every day I'd have them give you these numbers. You'd say how many booked, how many showed, how many did you close. So like for example, they're like I had 5 booked appointments. 5 of them showed up. We closed 0. Next day, it's like I had 2 booked appointments. 1 showed. 0 closed. Then it's like and then closes will come in staggering, right? Because they don't close the same day usually, right? So then you're like, I had 3 appointments, 0 showed, closed 2. So you're like, okay, we're good. But if it's like always zeros, then you know there's a problem. But the thing is, you got to know it's a problem way before it's a problem. Because if they go like a month or 2, they're gonna cancel.
I know. The guy said he was a 10 out of 10. Like when I was doing temperature check before we revealed price. And after price drop, I did the whole isolating, double tie down. Still said he was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then he said if we split the payments up, he'd be good to go. And then I was like, okay, yeah, we can split payments up into this, yada yada. But then he says, like I was telling you, like he can't put any money down today because he has money. It's just tied up that he owes to employees. And so what we agreed on, only thing I was able to really do was put a credit card on file. And he said on the 15th, he said to just bill him for the 60 and 67. and then just reach out to him to set up.
But remember the part in the price objection we did? You're like, cool. So like I'm down to work out a payment plan for you, but before I do, I just want to make sure you can move forward today. That wouldn't have happened. So I would have said, so if you can't put that down today, what can you put down?
I tried saying that as well. He said.
So if he says like, if someone says they can't put anything down, I go, so you literally can't even put down $1?
That's what I said.
No, and what did he say?
I think he basically was saying like I'd prefer to just make the payment on Friday, and he was willing to give me his card. Like he said, yeah, I'll put a card on file and everything, and you can just build.
Did it run yet?
I haven't built it yet. He said to build it on Friday.
Like end of the day, if he's still willing to give you the card and he says that, that's fine. But I would have been like, well, dude, look, like, can you at least do $1 today so I can verify the card worked?
Referrals. Like, how should you incentivize referrals? Because I have clients absolutely crushing it, and then I'm like, yeah, let's set some referrals.
Yeah, 2 best times to ask for referrals. 1, right after you close. Okay, so right after you close someone, you're onboarding. I always send them a video, like a personalized video. I'm like, hey, super excited you're gonna start. By the way, if there's anyone you know that we can also help, let us know. We'll give you 10% off and them. It's a 2-way referral. So what I do is like, let's say your cost of acquisition, what is it usually? Like $500?
It was $366.
Okay, so what you would do is like, typically what I would do if I were you is you give 10% to the client, or you give 10% to, or in your case, you could do 5%. So you'd be like, hey, I'll give 5% to, if it's 5,000, 5% to the client, and you give 5% to the person who signs up. Or you can do it as like you give it like a timeline. You're like, hey, if you know anyone, this is good for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you get money off and they get money off. That's like a way to do it. The next time is when they have wins. If you ask 100 people, like I would say the goal is like, maybe you get 10 referrals. You're not gonna, it's not, it depends on the company, but you're not supposed to get like, you're gonna ask a lot, but a lot of people won't say yes. But if you ask 100 people and you get 10 referrals, dude, that's great. Yeah. That's 50 grand.
How do you structure those calls? Like, when somebody refers?
No, so they have to be in a 3-way text. The way referrals work is like, you have to put me in a 3-way text. They put you in a 3-way text, and then you just schedule the call. And I usually just push it straight to a sales call with an application. Take the call.
Gotcha. And then what about doing, like I know you said obviously to try to optimize for doing just 60-minute calls. Mm-hmm. What do you do though, like when you're on a 15-minute, how deep should you go into their pains, into their desires?
All I try to do is I build rapport. I'm just like, cool, so like tell me what your goal is. What are you struggling with? What have you tried? Okay, do you have a business, this and that? And then I'm just like, cool, so based on that, I think this would be a great fit for you. What I'd like to do next, I don't have time to go logistically on this call. I got back-to-back calls.
Yeah.
I don't go that deep. All they gotta do is like you, and you just gotta know if they're a fit. Yeah. That's it. Like all this other stuff, like I'm not going deep on pain points because like you said, you just have to do it again on the 60-minute call. So like, why am I doing that?
Yeah. And then what about ads? Do you notice when running your ads on the weekend, you're just going to be getting less opt-ins? That's normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah. But it's up to you. Like we don't usually turn ads off completely because it's like, especially when we spend a lot, but when you're spending as little as you are, if you notice like, hey, if you want to try to see if it works better to turn them off, you can.
No, that's the thing. I want to, that weekend is when I need them on because that's when I'm going to have the time to.
Yeah. So it's usually just because people are like,
they don't want to get calls.
I don't know. Yeah, they're just not. They're not as active. I mean, like guys like you and me, we're working on weekends. Most people, they don't work.
Yeah, it's great. Tanner kind of broke down really everything where I'm at, and kind of showed me what I wasn't able to really see, in terms of what's holding me back. But also, I mean, some of the stuff I kind of knew. It was just like helping reaffirm that like that probably is the issue. But yeah, it definitely helped give me a lot of clarity on where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was awesome. It's pretty much what I was expecting. Now I kind of just know that I need to double down on what I'm already doing because like, it is working. It's just doing more of that. I'll just listen to what Tanner says. I mean, like, I don't know how obviously effective it is. I haven't, put into practice yet, but I'd say probably just listen to what he says. And also probe. So you actually, like, if there's something you're unsure of, probably just ask him about it. So you can actually expand on it rather than just like sitting there confused and just, kind of regretting that you didn't ask.